2019. And we, of course, 2020 would not have been able to do it if we had wanted to. And now we've moved to this virtual platform, which is allowing us to bring people together from many different regions and to have this virtual meeting. And we are very delighted I'm delighted to bring you greetings from Atlanta, Georgia, from the Episcopal Center for Racial Healing, the Absalom Jones Center, which is located in Atlanta and is a part of the Episcopal Church's initiative to do racial healing work in the church and wherever else we can manage to do that. And I am so delighted and honored to have had the opportunity to become engaged in partnership with my sisters in Honduras and in Panama. And I am delighted to now present to you, yes. I am delighted to present to you Reverend Canon Consuelo Sanchez from Honduras, who will bring words on behalf of Province 9.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches, queridas hermanas. En nombre de la 9ª provincia, sean todas bienvenidas a esta conferencia virtual internacional de mujeres, la cual, gracias a nuestro Dios fiel y amoroso, ha sido posible. Tanto el equipo de trabajo, como ya escucharon a ustedes, a la doctora Catherine Mix, que es la directora ejecutiva del Centro de Reconciliación Racial Absalom Jones. La señora Patricia Martin, quien es ministro laico de la Diócesis de República Dominicana. La reverenda Glenda McQueen, que es nuestra oficial de compañerismo de la Iglesia Episcopal, tanto para América Latina como para el Caribe. Y su servidora en representación de la coordinación del Ministerio de la Mujer de la 9ª provincia. Nos hemos estado reuniendo para traerles a ustedes esta segunda conferencia que, como ya bien lo dijo Catherine, comenzó este caminar en el 2019 en la República de Panamá. Hemos estado orando y sabemos que también muchas de ustedes han estado orando para que el desarrollo de esta conferencia sea todo un éxito y sea de mucho aprendizaje para cada una. ¿Y saben qué? Estamos seguras que así será. Tendremos grandes expositoras, quienes se enfocarán en 2 temas que son cruciales, que son fundamentales en nuestras vidas y ministerio, como lo son el bienestar, el autocuidado y el empoderamiento. En fin, ustedes se darán cuenta que será de mucho, pero mucho aprendizaje, con el cual van a poder continuar haciendo ese trabajo tan loable que hacen en sus diócesis, sobre todo el ministerio que realizan con las mujeres y niñas. Trabajo que sabemos todas nosotras que demanda mucho compromiso, pero también, sobre todo, mucho amor. Esa palabra tan cortita, pero cuyo significado es poderoso. Estoy segura que en las próximas horas ese amor va a impregnar nuestras mentes y nuestros corazones para que a la vez podamos también impactar y ser bendición para mujeres y niñas en nuestras diócesis. Dicho esto, nos vamos a poner en la presencia del dueño de todo, de nuestro Señor Jesucristo. El Señor sea con ustedes.
Y con tu espíritu.
Amado Señor, te damos gracias, Dios de poder, Dios de misericordia, porque nos permites entrar en el trono de tu gracia, porque tú nos has convocado, porque tú tenías ya este tiempo precioso para cada una de nosotras que estamos hoy acá, tus hijas amadas. Por fe sabemos que esta conferencia será todo un éxito para tu honra y gloria. Gracias, Señor, por darnos esta oportunidad. Gracias, Padre y Madre, porque siempre, siempre tú nos bendices con tu cuidado y con tu amor. Te pedimos que sea tu Santo Espíritu el que tome el control, el que nos dirija, el que pueda poner en nosotros esos sentimientos de amor, ese espíritu de trabajar en nuestra diócesis con ese amor que tú nos das. Tú nos bendices para que seamos bendición. Oh Dios, te pedimos que tú seas quien tome el control. Bendice a cada mujer aquí representada. Bendice cada uno de sus ministerios, Señor, y empodéranos. Empodéranos con tu amor. Empodéranos con tu presencia. Gracias, Padre. Gracias porque sabemos que estamos en las mejores manos. Espíritu Santo, fluye y quédate con nosotros. Que esa paz que excede a nuestro entendimiento esté ahorita con nosotras y nos pueda hacer capaces de poder, Señor, tomar todo eso que tú tienes para nosotras y para nuestros ministerios. Te lo pedimos en ese nombre que es sobre todo nombre, Jesucristo, nuestro Señor y Salvador. Amén.
Amén.
Es gratificante
Amén.
ponernos en manos del Todopoderoso para comenzar esta conferencia. En Él está puesta nuestra esperanza y sabemos que nuestra esperanza no va a ser en vano. Vamos a pedirles que mantengan sus micrófonos apagados mientras escuchamos a nuestras conferencistas o cuando tengamos que escuchar la intervención de alguna de ustedes. Y de esa manera, voy a ir todo de la mejor manera. Muchas gracias por su valiosa ayuda y comprensión. Voy a pasar el micrófono a nuestra hermana Catherine, quien estará presentándonos en estos momentos a nuestras conferencistas. Adelante, Catherine.
All right, thank you so much, Sonny, and thank you for those words of prayers and inspiration. And we know full well that things work so much better when we stay grounded in our understanding of God's grace and mercy and our dependence upon that grace and mercy. So thank you so much for those words. I'm very honored tonight to be able to introduce the two women who will be sharing with us. And the first one is Ty Gibbs, who is the Senior Director of Manufacturing at Thistle Farms and a 2015 graduate of the Thistle Farms residential program. And Thistle Farms is an organization that works to exists to help women become rescued from the streets of prostitution and life on the street. They will have plenty to say to you about that, and you'll know plenty about it when they finish. But I just want to give you that little bit of a sketch about it. Ty enjoys working with the residents and graduates of Thistle Farms, and she says her favorite part of the job is working daily with such an amazing team of women. She feels blessed to be a part of this community that never ceases to show up for one another. And our second speaker is Doris Walker, who is the Senior Ambassador and Community Relations Person for Thistle Farms. Doris says, I am now a grateful Thistle farmer. I was given a chance to heal, and I have managed to put my life back together again with the blessings of the Lord and the dedicated love of Magdalene and Thistle Farms. I'm committed in paving the way forward and speaking out for women around the world who have yet to find their way home. And so it's been said that to work closely with Doris is to fall in love with her kind spirit, her optimistic outlook, and her contagious smile, and beautiful voice. We are just so honored to have these two beautiful sisters of ours who live in Nashville, Tennessee, which is a very long ways from many of you on this call. But the most important thing that we can all remember is that we are all created by the one heavenly God, Father and Mother that exists in the universe, and we are family. So you are just meeting a part of the family that you didn't know, as we are meeting you all who are here on the screen. So Doris and Ty, I know you're here somewhere, and there's a lot of folks, and so I can't see where everybody is, but why don't we start with you, Doris?
Good afternoon, everyone. So first, let me say, I know I look crazy, but I am so grateful to be here, more so than ever before, because I fell down a flight of stairs yesterday, and my life could have just ended like fell down a flight of stairs Thursday. My life could have ended like that, but by the grace of God, I made it through. I can remember when I got to the bottom of the steps and the emergency crew came. They were picking up one leg to see if it was broke, and it wasn't broke. And I'm like, hallelujah. Huh. And then they picked up the other leg and it wasn't broke. And I'm like, thank you, God. So people couldn't understand why I'm laying on the floor bleeding and praising God. It's because I could have been dead, sleeping in my grave. And I've always said that, but just in the twinkling of an eye, my life could have been gone yesterday. But it is only by the grace of the God that I know and I serve that I got up off the floor, and they carried me into the emergency room, and I was able to walk home. So I'm really stiff and I'm really sore, but I'm grateful that I can feel pain. I'm so grateful for that. So as Dr. Meeks had said, my name is Doris Walker. I think the last time I spoke with you all in Atlanta, my name was Doris Walker. My name actually now is Doris Walker Taylor. I got married 2 years ago. It is only by the grace of God that my life has unfolded into what it is today. You know, when I think about recovery and hope, I think about all those years, 26 long, miserable years that I was on the street, and I was trading myself as though I was some type of a commodity. So I remember, I don't want to bore you all, but the last time I talked to you all, I started out talking about my childhood. So I grew up in a little town north of Nashville, and actually where I'm sitting right now is 3 doors from where all my trauma started. It's 3 doors away. So God has carried me full circle, and I got married and came right back home where all my trauma started. So my life was, you know, I had an amazing childhood. And there are some women who come into Thistle Farms that don't have an amazing childhood. Some women come into the program because they were sold into human trafficking at an early age, and that wasn't part of my story. And then there are some women who come into the Thistle Farms community because they grew up in homes where addiction was prevalent, and they thought that was an okay way of life because it's all they knew. And then there are some women who come into our program because they were touched by a family member or a stranger, and that cycle of molestation actually formed their lives. That trauma formed their lives, and they landed on the street. Like I said, I had an amazing childhood. My mother and my father were humble believers in God, and they taught me all there was to know about the Word of God. My daddy taught me that music is food for the soul. And my dad would actually carry me to church and push me up in front of everybody, and I would sing. My dad always told me that prayer is the most powerful tool that we possessed. Had an amazing childhood, yet a troubled family member came into our family home, severely injured my mom, and shot my father. I'm 12 years old, and I'm watching this. And I'm in a little town, kind of like Mayberry, Andy Griffith, a little town like that, where everybody knew everybody. You could go to sleep with your doors open. But when this thing happened, my life immediately down spiraled. I immediately went into denial. And I didn't know what family unity was all about. And I was an A+ student up to that point. But then I would go to school and the teacher would be teaching and my mind would trail back to that same scene. And on some days I could hear pow. Oh, I could hear pow. And it would startle me. Some mornings when I woke up, I could actually smell blood in the air. So everything about my life had changed for the worse. My mom became the sole breadwinner after my dad died. And I began to hang out with the cool kids at school. So my life was full of going to immediately. My life changed. And I'm having a childhood addiction to marijuana. And for me, marijuana was a gateway drug because when it stopped doing what I needed it to do, I went to something stronger. So I remember leaving the little town of White House, Tennessee, and came all the way into Nashville, Tennessee. And when I landed in Nashville, that's where I began to live a truly inhumane lifestyle. My life immediately changed. My life was full of going to jail and getting out of jail and getting in the car with strangers and trading myself as though I was some type of a commodity. So everything I knew about my life had drastically changed. So my dad had taught me the power that prayer is the most powerful tool that we possess. So I would walk down the streets of Nashville and I would be so high and so inebriated, I could not form a prayer. But I would walk down the streets of Nashville and I would recite the 23rd Psalm. Because the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. And I would walk down the street reciting the 23rd Psalm, and I would cry out that I would say, God, if you just please come and get me. I promise you, I will dwell in your house. So not long after continually saying that prayer, I landed in jail. So when I was on the street, I had a good friend named Regina, and Regina had just disappeared. And I thought Regina was dead because our lives did not hold any value on the street. So I got to jail and I'm sitting there. And, I like to make the analogy of Thistle Farms and jail. When you go to jail, they take your clothes from you and they give you this ugly orange jumpsuit. They tell you when to eat, what to eat, talk to you in a manner that pushes your spirit down farther than it already is. But when I got to Thistle Farms, they told me to dream and dream big. And they told me there was nothing in this world that I couldn't do that they wasn't willing to help me with. So I'm sitting there in jail one day again, and I had my head down. And I'm feeling really bad about myself. And I looked up and over in the corner, I saw this woman standing there. And it was Regina, but she wasn't there as an inmate. Regina was there to bring a word of hope. And I saw her and I thought, is that Regina? And she was glowing from the inside out. So she turned around and gave me this big smile and got as close to me as she could get. And she said, Doris, guess what? I got my life back. And I said, well, how did you do that? She said, I found this program. And I said, I can't do it, Regina. I have gone to so many 30-day programs. What is 30 days going to do for me? At this time in my life, I've been addicted for well over 26 years. And I've been on the street for 20 years. She said, no, Doris, it's not a 30-day program. It's a long-term program. And I said, Regina, I have gone to so many halfway houses and they're 90 days. But they charge $125 to $140 a week. And at that time in my life, because of my background, nobody would give me a job. So I'd have to be clean from drugs and still go out and trade myself as though I was some type of a commodity. And I would feel so bad about myself. I'd always go back and use. So it was a vicious cycle. And I didn't know how to break that cycle of pain. And Regina said, Doris, this program is 2 years and it don't cost you a dime. And I'm like, Really? So she gave me the number. Usually, ladies and gentlemen, when I get out of jail, I will return right back to the street until I came right back to jail again. But this time, holding on for all my dear life, I was holding on to the number that Regina gave me, and I made it back to White House, Tennessee. And by this time of my life, I had two beautiful children, a handsome little big-eyed son and a beautiful daughter. And I could not raise them because I couldn't take care of myself. But I am so grateful that my mom was raising my kids. So I come home and my kids ran outside and they run up to me and they hugged me and they loved on me. It didn't matter to them that I probably smelled like a bear. It didn't matter. I was their mama and they loved me. So I went in the house where I grew up, and home was not a safe place for me because if I would sit on the bed where I grew up as a child and look right out the window, that was the very spot outside my window where my daddy dropped dead. And as a matter of fact, when he dropped dead, I screamed and I ran over to him, which resulted in my being partially trapped underneath my dying father. So some days I could smell the blood. Some days I could not get that sound or that smell out of my mind. So I went in the house and I sat down on the bed and I thought, I got to hold on to this number that Regina gave me. This might be my only chance of getting out. So I looked up and my mom had this beautiful picture of my daughter on the wall. And I got the picture down and I scribbled that number on the back of it that Regina gave me. And I thought, now that number's safe. Because at that time, I thought my mom's house was a normal house. It was soon that I found out that normal is no more than a cycle on the washing machine. There is no normal in life. But I got up there and I put that number up there. And then I was there for a couple of days. But every night I'm having using dreams. So I get ready to go back to the street. And my brother said, Doris, you know what? You are killing our mom. Every time the news come on and they find a woman dead or they find a woman severely injured and she doesn't have any identification, our mom goes into a panic mode because she thinks it's you. Can you just please call our mom and let her know you're doing okay? And I'm like, okay, I will. So the drugs had did exactly what I wanted it to do. It had stopped the pain and took the pain away. But the drugs had did exactly what I did not want it to do. It had taken Doris away. It had taken my ability to care. It had taken away my ability to feel, my ability to actually be a good mother. So I went back to the street, but unknowingly, my brother had planted a seed in my spirit. I would be sitting in a nasty, dirty crack house, and something in my spirit would say, hey, Doris, why don't you call your mom? And I'm like, no. I would be walking down the street about to open up the car door to a stranger's car. And something in my spirit would say, you know, you really should call your mom. So this thing stayed on me for about 9 or 10 months. So one day I'm thinking, it's not doing me any good to try to use on the street anymore because I've got feelings now. And there's something in my spirit that's telling me to stop doing what I'm doing. So one day I thought, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will just call my mom because something in my spirit kept saying, call your mom. So I called my mom one day, hadn't been home in almost a year. And I said, hey, Mom, this is Doris. I just wanted you to know that I was doing okay. And y'all, I was not doing okay. She said, Doris, I need you to do one thing for me before, I want you to do one thing for me before I leave this earth. You know, the songs that your dad taught you and the songs I know you can sing. I need you to come home and be a part of this big choir anniversary. Can you do that for me? I'm like, yeah, Mama, I can. So this time I make it back to White House. By the time I made it back to my mom's house this time, I had blisters underneath the bottom of my feet and I was bruised from the inside out. And I tell you all that I had just about lost my will to live. And I came in my mom's house And I went in the bedroom where I grew up as a child, and I just collapsed on the bed. And ladies, I slept more safe and more sound than I had slept in a couple of decades. Because on the street, you're always thinking that it's not going to be long before I get raped again today. Or this might be my last day on earth because everybody I was around was a criminal and had guns. So I'm at my mom's house. And that night I went to sleep. Y'all, I slept more safe and more sound than I had slept in a couple of decades. I woke up the next morning, my mom was in the kitchen cooking, and it smelled amazing. And as I grew up as a little child, my mom had a habit of walking through the house talking to God. So this particular morning, I heard my mom in the kitchen saying, "Hey, God, my baby's home, and I need you to keep her here this time. Because if she goes back to the street, she's going to die. I can feel it. I just know it." And so my mom used to walk around the house singing hymn praises. So I heard my mom out in the kitchen going, "Oh, Lord, I want you to help me." She came in my room and she fed me. So that afternoon, I walked up the street to the church, and to practice for this choir rehearsal I came home for, this choir anniversary I came home for. And all the people in the church were adults and members of society, people who were little kids the last time I saw them. And they said, "Is that you, Doris?" And they came up and they hugged me and they loved on me. And they said, "Doris, we got this song we want you to sing for this anniversary. It's by Lemmy Battles, Chicago Mass Choir, and it's called You're Looking at a Miracle." I'm like, "Really, y'all? A miracle?" They said, yeah, you can sing it, Doris. We know you can. So for the next 2 weeks, I spent all my time at my mom's house trying to learn this song, because the words in this song did not line up with my life. Every time you look at me, you're looking at a miracle. So my mom, was there, and I woke up and I had the choir anniversary and I sang and I praised and I did things unlike I had done in a couple of decades. And I came home that night, but every night I'm having music. So I thought, that's it. I did what my mom asked me to do. I'm just going back. I can't live this way because every night I'm having music dreams. So the next morning I got up with the intentions of going back to Nashville, back to the street, back to what I was comfortable with. And I got up that morning, and my mom, this particular morning, she was praying harder than I've ever heard anybody pray in their life. And she's like, "God, my baby's here. And I need you, Heavenly Father, to keep her. I need you to keep her here, because if she goes back, she's going to die." And she was singing to the top of her voice, "Oh, Lord, I want you to help me." I'm in my room trying to get out of there. So she's praying and she's singing, and I'm making phone calls. I'm thinking, this is too much. My mom is praying, she's singing, and I want some more drugs. So I started calling folks. Usually when I come home, the first person I call will come and get me. So this particular morning, the first person I called had a flat tire. The next person I called didn't have enough gas to come get me. And I'm like, what's going on? So I started leaving messages. "This is Doris. When you get this call, come and get me. I've got money." So I'm trying to get out of there. And my mama is praying to God harder than I ever heard anybody pray. So she comes around the room and I'm packing my clothes. And she said, "Doris, where are you going?" I said, "Mom, I'm going back. I did what you asked me to do. I was part of the choir anniversary." And she wouldn't take no for an answer. She said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Mom, I'm going back. I did what you asked me to do." And when I looked around, my mom had tears running down her face. And if I had been in my right mind, that would have stopped me. But nothing could stop me when I wanted drugs. So I'm thinking, good grief, somebody call me. I got to get out of here. She's praying, she's singing, and I'm trying to get out of here. So I'm thinking, somebody please call me. Come on now. So the phone rang and I'm like, yes. So I said, "Yes, ma'am." "You have about 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, thank you." So I said, she said, she said, I got a call, and somebody called, and I said, hey, you ready to come and get me? And it was Regina, and she said, yeah, Doris, I'm ready to come get you. So on a Monday morning, November the 9th, 2009, ladies, I got my life back. And I came into the Thistle Farms program. And last Tuesday marked 12 years that I have been a part of this community. So we do recover, and we do get hope. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Ty.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Ty Gibbs, and I am a 2015 graduate of the Thistle Farms residential program, and I work here in manufacturing as the director. And I'm gonna start off telling my story. It's a lot different from Doris. My childhood was totally different. I grew up without a father. I did not have a father present in my house until my mom got married, but I'll get to that part later. It was me and my mom and my two siblings, my brother, and I had a young a baby sister and my grandma. And so in the beginning, everything seemed to be pretty good. We went to church. I sung in a choir. I ushered. I baked cookies and cakes for the bake sales and the tea parties at church. Everything seemed to be going really good. I played like a normal child. I danced, I sang, everything was really good until my mom got married. I think I was like 10 or 11 years old. The first year of marriage seemed to be all right. The second year, my stepdad started drinking really heavy. He started abusing my mom. And so I started to be a real nervous child. Didn't want to go out, did not want to leave my mom in the house by herself. I was always somewhere around her, just hoping that I could protect her. The beatings used to get really bad at night when my stepfather thought that my youngest sister and my brother and I were asleep. And me and my little sister used to hold each other's hands and pray and cry and hope that the beatings would stop. And they didn't. And then he started to molest me as a child. I used to hide in my closet, hoping that he couldn't find me. And it went on for a while. So he also sold marijuana. And that's how I was first introduced to drugs. I found this marijuana and I would take some and give it away to the people at my school. That was my way of escaping. I started hanging out with the wrong crowd. I couldn't participate in class anymore because of the drug use and because of everything that was going on in my house. I started to be like really shy and I withdrew a whole lot. There was no more church for me. No more bake sales, no more Sunday school, no more choir. Everything about my life just started to spiral down. I got hooked up with the wrong boys. I didn't have any self-worth anymore. I didn't like myself. I used to think that because what was happening to me at home, nobody was going to want me. And so
Ty, just a second. Dominique, could you please mute that?
Yeah.
Please check yourself and make sure you're muted.
Yeah, I'm just gonna mute everyone and if the speaker doesn't know, hold on just a moment.
Just a second, Ty, I'm sorry.
okay.
The speaker has to unmute themselves.
Ty, unmute yourself.
All right. And so, so now I'm in high school, and I tried real hard to be normal. I got on the cheerleading squad. Things were the same in my house, but I tried to pretend like they weren't at school, but it came through and it showed through my behavior. I started to be defiant and rebellious. I started skipping school and cutting class. I mean, it was crazy. Hanging out, just smoking weed, getting suspended, being disruptive in class. I was acting out in every way that you possibly could. And then I stopped coming home. I was looking for love in all the wrong places because I wasn't getting it at my house. And not only did my dad was he an alcoholic, but my mom started smoking marijuana as well. And my granny was still living in the house with us, and she knew that something was different. But I was too scared to tell my mom what was going on because he was already abusing her. And I felt like if I would have said something, then she was going to try to retaliate and things were going to get worse and he was going to beat her worse. And so that's when I just started running away. I finally dropped out of school. I ran away to Boston. Things were crazy up there. The people that I ran away with, I ran away from them. And it was really bad for me. I was staying from place to place, sleeping in people's houses that I did not know, eating out of grocery stores. And then I finally got in touch with my mom and told her where I was. And she sent for me a bus ticket to come back home. As soon as I got back home, nothing had changed. And so where I come from, the community that I come from, it was prostitutes, dope dealers, shoplifters, gamblers. And so that was all I knew. After 12, that was it. That's all I seen, that's all I knew. And I started to think that life was just a way of life. So I also come from poverty. I lived in the projects and everything went on there. Seen a lot, I indulged in a lot. And so my first trip to jail, I got out because I had started shoplifting and prostituting and trying to support my habit. And I went from smoking marijuana to snorting cocaine to IV drug use and then back to smoking crack. Like my drug habit just really took off. It was just fast and furious. It was like no other. And so my story is a little similar to Doris. I too started going into 28-day programs, 3-month programs, 6-month programs, but because I was a dropout, I would find a job, but it would only be in fast food restaurants. And the halfway houses that I stayed in would charge rent. And so I always had to go back to where I came from because I didn't have anywhere to go. And so I have been in and out of jail all my life until I came into this farm program. I have been to prison 3 times. And so it's really crazy because I thought this was normal. I just thought that everything was okay. I would go into prison. I would do the things that they told me to do, get up, follow the rules, go up for parole and not make parole just because of my criminal history. And this was a vicious cycle for me. And it went on and on and on and on. And I would get out and I would get beat. And I ran into this one guy. And I think it was Really, it was like a monster. He had me trapped. I mean, I would go out with him, but I was scared to ever leave him because he would beat me so bad. And he is the person that introduced me to IV drug use. And I was so addictive that I would stay in a room. And he would bring people in for me to perform sex acts, not only with men, but with women as well. I tried to leave him a couple of times, and every time he felt me, he would just beat me until I was just so scared. And this went on. And then I would leave and I would try to get into a relationship that he would come and beat the man that I was with, like beat him, beat me, drag me back. And so I finally got away from him when he went to prison. And so my cycle still continued for a while, and it was vicious. And then I got away and I decided to go to a little town called Lewisburg. And during that time in Lewisburg, I was on drugs. No, first I went to treatment. So I went to go to treatment, and it was a 28-day program. And then I said, okay, I'm going to go to the transitional housing. But again, you had to pay rent. So 4 people moved into this 2-bedroom apartment, and we shared rooms. One person relapsed, and it was like a domino effect. We all relapsed. And I stayed there in Lewisburg, and I was selling myself, and I was turning tricks, and I was buying dope for people. And I was going right across the yard, and I was buying dope. And I had no idea that the people that I was buying dope from, one person, was an informant. And all I was really was an addict, and I was trying to feed my habit. But because I went and got the dope and bought it back to somebody else, that was illegal. And so just one night, I had just bought dope, and I was on my way back to my apartment, and I got pulled over by task force. And so I went to jail and stayed in jail for about, I guess 90 days, and I made bond. But I knew then, as soon as I got out of jail, I started getting high. But I had 4 cases pending. And so I said, I need to get some help. My life is going downhill, and I'm tired. I'm so tired. And so I had met somebody in a meeting, and I gave him a call, and he knew all about this farm's residential program. I got on the list, and I called every single day. And I guess I was just blessed because I had a bed, probably about 3 weeks to 4 weeks, I had a bed. So I go in, and I'm doing really, really well. Staying clean, going to work. In fact, I was working 2 jobs because I was trying to obtain a lawyer and going back and forth to court. Everything seemed to be going really, really good, but I knew that I had this case pending. And so my lawyer was saying, you're going to get time, you're going to get time. And everybody from Thistle Farms was saying, no, you're not, no, you're not. Nobody from this program goes to jail. And I kept telling them, oh, but I'm going. It's like, no, you're not. Oh, but I'm going. Because I've been in and out. And they are going to give it to me this time. And so it was a year. I went to court. All my sisters from the program followed me. Reverend Rebecca Stevens, our founder, followed me. My supervisor followed me. And so I guess I know, about 25 people in court with me. And it was the day of my sentencing. He told me to stand up and he was getting ready to sentence me. And no matter how well I had done for that year, it did not matter. They sentenced me to 14 years to prison. And that night, before I went for my sentence, and I had already packed up myself, because I knew in my heart and my soul that I was going. And so all my sisters started to scream. And I almost buckled when they told me 14 years. My knees started buckling. And and I was like, can I go back outside for a second? They was like, no, put your hands behind your back. And that was it. But this time was different because I had been in prison. Like I said, it was my third time. I had been in and out of jail. And nobody wrote me. Nobody visited me. And all the times I had went. But this time was different. My sisters wrote me. They came to visit me. The man that I'm married to now supported me the whole time. He's the person that introduced me to the program. So let me say. And so he is my husband now. And so people sent me books. And that had never happened. Nobody had never been there for me. Like, it was like, that's when I really knew that love does truly heal. And they love me back to life. And so I spent 3 years there. Through Christmas, through Thanksgiving, through birthdays, 3 whole years. But it was just different this time because I worked on myself. I made goals. I was accomplishing goals in prison. I wanted to take this class and that class and this class and behavior classes. I wanted to work on me. And I wanted to see what was wrong with me. And what could I do to help fix myself? And so that's when, during this last trip to prison, in them 3 years, I did it as much as I possibly could to do better. But the thing that was different for me this time is I did not have to go back to a halfway house when I knew that I only had 90 days. I only had 6 months. I was going back to a 2-year residential program. So I already knew what it was about, and I already knew that things were going to happen for me if I just stick and stay. So, and how ironic, the same bedroom that I packed up that night was the same exact bedroom that I went back into. Same house, same bedroom. Crazy, I know. And so I never had driver's license. And so I got my driver's license when I got back. I got my GED. I started working as a calendar maker. And I went to work. And I worked really, really hard. I started seeing a therapist. My teeth had been knocked out. And I got a smile now. And so, so they provided me with teeth. They provided me with eyeglasses. They provided me with mental health. I got on medication. Like, I woke up, it was yesterday morning, and I was sitting in the middle of my bed, and I was just thinking about things I'm so grateful for. Like, I have been homeless for 8 years, and I am so, so grateful that I have my own place, that I am married, that my son just graduated from high school, that I am doing so good. Like, I have a comfy bed to lay down at night. I have food in my refrigerator. Like, I have clothes. I have clean clothes. Like, I'm just grateful. Truly, truly grateful. And I never knew that this was going to be the social enterprise, that I was going to go from being the calendar maker to being the director of manufacturing. Like, I never in my wildest dreams in 2009 ever thought that my life was going to be where it is at this moment. And so now I'm saving up money to buy my own home. And I'll be the first person in my family to ever be a homeowner. Like first I was like, I'm too old for this. I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to live in a nice house that I'm going to be paying for, that I can leave to my son or whoever, you know. And ain't no telling how long I'm gonna live now that I don't get high anymore, you know, that I'm eating healthy, I'm doing right. And so just want to say that this program has truly worked for me. I have a whole community of people that truly, truly love me. Like, I'm so excited, you guys. I am so honored to be asked to speak. Like, this is amazing for me. Like, I'm just tickled to death that I can share my story with people, you know, like so far away from me. Like, it's a treat. And I am truly, truly blessed. I'm truly, truly blessed. And that's my story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ty.
You're
Reverend
welcome.
Glenda is somewhere here. Reverend Glenda
Sí,
McQueen.
qué bien.
Yes, so
Buenas
let me
tardes,
just,
soy Glenda McQueen y con la ayuda de la traducción, ¿verdad? Trabajaré en español y ustedes van a escuchar a la intérprete en inglés. Lo que vamos a hacer ahora, después de escuchar estas bellas historias, que para mí son historias de esperanza, son historias